We get a H to the I to the L L B to the I to the L L Y. Sing it. Sing it.
Heard you say I'm not the baddest bitch you like. It ain't my fault that I'm out here getting loose. Gotta blame it on the goose. Gotta blame it on my juice, baby.
Bougie.
Just talking about my generation. My generation. My generation.
Oh, happy day to you. I am Yates. You're locked on to LRS102.com, The Walrus. Welcome to Jyneration Nation, broadcasting live from the Launch Louisville Studios, downtown Louisville. And I'm always pumped because I have Ron Whitehead, rock and roll poet, on the show today. How you doing, Ron?
The Bone Man dances circles round, the subterranean gloom paints pink and blue and purple until he fills the room with the smell of roses and pandemonium. Moon, hi Jen, it's great to be here with you today.
I love you, dude. I'm so pumped. You just make me happy and you make me smile, which I love.
All right.
Yeah, and I love your work. I've been a fan for a long time. We've actually done some work together
Yeah,
in the past.
I've been a fan of yours.
Thanks.
It's been a while since I've seen you live, but I saw you tear it up with Kelly Ritchie.
Oh, thanks,
You were on
man.
tour with her.
Yeah, where'd you see us?
That was down on Main Street.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, down at Stevie Ray's?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was
man.
a great show.
I tell you what, I forgot you were at that show, but that was
Man.
one of my most magical shows
Oh my
ever.
God. It was through the roof.
Well, it was epic, Ron. You don't even know this, but my parents hadn't spoken in many, many, many years. Not a lot at that point. And they both showed up at that gig, not knowing they were, I don't think they knew each other were coming. And then all of a sudden, I look out and they're dancing to me playing.
Oh,
and I was
man.
just like mind blown. You know what I mean?
That's
Yeah.
awesome to hear. You were ripping it up, and I
Thanks.
spoke with you and gave you a hug that night, and I did the same with Kelly
Yeah.
Ritchie too, because the show was just so fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, man. That was during the run of Girlfriend when I was at Actors Theater. So we had Sarah Lee there of the B-52s, the bass player.
wow.
She
I
was
didn't
there
know-
in
I
the
didn't
house
know-
that night.
That's-
Yeah, Julie
Oh,
Wolfe, who was on tour with the Indigos, and Ani DeFranco was there that night.
It was amazing. Just the
Yeah.
energy in the place was so electric.
Yeah. It was pumping, man.
Yeah.
And I just remember being on stage and looking out going, holy shit, I think everybody I know was here.
Yeah.
Even people from Tennessee, all over
Yeah.
had driven in for that. It was just a magical show.
Yeah, it was an overflow crowd too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I love that you were at that show. So that's super cool. Yeah, I've done a lot of cool stuff since then. Went to California and back.
I try to keep up with
Yeah.
you. And the one good thing about social media, Facebook in particular, is that I can keep up with my friends all over the world
Yeah.
with their travels. And so I got questions for you.
Sure.
You got some for me, but
Sure.
on our show here today,
Yeah.
I got a few
Ron Whitehead turning the tables on me
for
today.
you because yeah.
I love it.
Because
Keeping me on my
you know
toes.
what? I've interviewed a lot of famous folks over many
I know
years,
you have.
and had the privilege of becoming friends with them and hanging out with them and sharing a stage and a page and publishing them and producing events for them and being part of events with them and so. Growing up, I don't know what it was. It's in my DNA, I guess. But I grew up on a wild nature Kentucky farm, and
Hell yeah.
And I-
ding, ding.
and
Anytime we say a cuss word, Ron, we're going to put money in this change jar.
okay.
Yeah, sorry.
got a
Go
t-
on. I was
I
giving
got
you
a
a
t-
badass Kentucky.
I got a
man.
$10 bill. I probably have to put it all in there.
Anyway, go on. You grew up on a farm in Kentucky.
Yeah, I was actually in certain situations a little shy around adults as a kid, but I worked my way out of that, and I just grew up with so many amazing, eccentric, fantastic people, and so I've never met a stranger in my life, and wherever I go, I want to find out about people. I discovered a long time ago that I respect our beautiful differences, but while realizing that we all, no matter who we are, have more in common than we have different.
Heck yeah, we do.
And so I want to hear other people's stories. And so I know you grew up in Kentucky too.
Yes, I did.
So I want to ask you about, was it Adair County?
Adair County.
Okay,
I'm
well-
born and bred Adair.
Okay, well, I grew up in Ohio County where Bill Monroe birthed bluegrass music.
I've
And-
stopped through there, and I love that
so
place.
I was just- I just
know
went-
exactly where you're
I just
from.
went down to Rosine a couple weeks ago with my mom, and right before I watched this Ken Burns PBS 16-hour 8-part documentary on country music, and I grew up when Mama's the oldest of 13. She's 87 now, and when I was in her belly, I was listening to old time, the white hillbilly mountain blues that came from Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, and I was raised in that Mama's side of the family as a musical family, and so. And Mama sings alto, and her sister Jo Carolyn, 11 months younger, sings soprano. And their dad, who died, was a jack of all trades. He was the Dixie yodeler and was as good as Jimmy Rogers, if not better. And
No kidding.
Yeah, and so
So you come from you got a yodeler way back in your bloodline.
Yodeling. I grew up listening to that stuff, and they would sit on the front porch of Bill Monroe's old home place up on Jerusalem Ridge and play music with the Monroe boys.
Wow.
And so I came out of that musical tradition, and I got it in me. And so, we dwell in space, we measure space with time, but if that's all there was, life would be boring as hell. It would be metronomic, tick-tock, tick-tock. There's that third magical element called rhythm. That's the mojo, the spice that it provides the dance to life. And you sure understand that as a musician, and I'm a rock and roll poet because I love that old-time traditional music, but guess what? Elvis came along, and we watched him on the Ed Sullivan Show, and it's like, what the hell is that? And then, so the hair stood up on my head, but then all of a sudden, I listened to WLS out of Chicago late at night up in that attic of that old, with holes in the walls, that old farmhouse I slept in with my brother, and the wind whistling through the holes in the walls, but we listened to WLS at night, and that was where, out of Chicago, they played the British Invasion, Bob Dylan, the early days. So I listened to that stuff from the time I was 12 years old on, and I've always been more of a upper kind of guy. I was born with a high metabolism, and I want, and nothing against this. I'm not making a statement against smoking weed.
Yeah.
And I smoked a lot of grass. I popped a lot of pills, but I ain't found nothing that my spirit couldn't kill.
I love that.
But back in my drug days, I mean, I liked speed, amphetamines. Mescaline was my favorite, and I like cocaine in the cocaine days. But I like Led Zeppelin, man, and but Bob,
we're gonna spin some Led Zeppelin today.
we got to. 'Cause I heard Led Zeppelin
live
in the old Madison Square Garden. I saw them my first trip to New York City.
Wow.
And
how was that experience?
And so the police came out, and this is in a revolutionary time. And it's so great wandering through the village back in those days, and the women were, throwing their bras into piles and burning them. And
all right, we're gonna ding it for boobs.
Wearing see-through Indian tops, and it was like, I mean, as farm boy, it was an education for me.
Yeah, I bet.
And then I went up to visit New York and the village and everything, but to see Led Zeppelin, my favorite band, and
what year was that?
It was 69 or 70. I'd have to Google it.
Yeah, that's an amazing dude to see Zeppelin.
And so the cops come out though, because these are revolutionary times, and the whole hippie movement, and we were going against the status quo, and then the anti-Vietnam War thing started, and I had nothing against soldiers at all. I never have, but I'm against unjust wars. But I understand, if we hadn't fought Hitler, we'd probably be living in a Nazi world today. But I was part of that, and so the police came out and lined up in front of the stage, in front of Led Zeppelin, and like halfway through the show, and the crowd was. They were up to the stage. Everybody was just having a great time. I had a good seat. And all of a sudden, the police just started beating the hell out of everybody. I mean, it was terrible. Band stopped playing. Robert Plant threw the mic down on the stage, said, "Fuck the pigs," and the band walked off. And then the fighting got even worse. So how stupid was that?
Wow.
Yeah, and so
That is
That was an
insanity.
intense situation. And about that same time, around 70 or 71, I went up to Washington, D.C. for May Day. It was the largest demonstration, anti-Vietnam War, but largest demonstration. More people were arrested ever in U.S. history. And we shut down the city. But I saw the night before, it was, in my memory, and we were doing mescaline, there were so many people out on that big body of water there between the Lincoln and the Washington monuments. And Grateful Dead and Jefferson Airplane and other bands played, and then we stayed up all night, and then a demonstration the next morning. I saw they brought in more military, not just the police, but the National Guard, the Army, buses and tanks, and there were first aid tents set up everywhere, and I saw people beat to bloody pulps, and first aid people. I stayed just out of range. I'm smart enough to stay just out of range of tear gas when it was going off. But that's some of the stuff I lived through. I was a member of the SDS, Students for a Democratic Society, during that time. And I caused a lot of problems. I was in a lot of demonstrations, and I was part of the whole rock and roll scene from the get-go. I operated the first underground bookstore in Kentucky with a head shop for madmen only, which is a title I took out of Herman Hesse's Steppenwolf, and as a magic theater in that book published in 1927. Next to it, we had a head shop, and if you go, it was on South Lime in Lexington. If you go to Lexington today, go to Skeshel Media, which is near the entrance to the UK, and it's still there. Our two stores were bought out by a friend who moved in next to us, David, who's dead now, and he started Skeshel Media. That's with a Q, not a P. And it's, you want to go visit a head shop and a bookstore. It's exactly what we created back then, but they kept it all together there, and it's still there. You can buy your paraphernalia there for, your
whatever you need.
Yeah,
basically.
whatever you need. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we.
You
can
know, when I
can
first
we
came-
talk about that stuff on
Oh
this
yeah,
station?
we can talk about
good.
anything you want.
No, finally,
I'm like, this is my
finally
show.
a radio station's like the old school,
Ding, ding.
FM stations.
That's right. That's how it used to roll.
Yeah, where you could say anything, and they were revolutionary in those days. And I'm glad y'all are doing it that way. And I hope that LRS gets full blown again.
Me too. I think it's gonna.
But-
I think it's gonna.
but-
You know, we got LRS Fest coming up this week. They brought that back. That's this
That's
Saturday,
great.
October 5th. We've got all these cool local bands. You can get tickets at ticketweb.com, ticketmaster.com, all that cool stuff. Anyway, but yeah, and we're also trying to maybe bring back the homemade records. We just got
Fantastic.
Wally the Walrus costume back. Remember when the little
Fantastic. Oh,
walrus
yeah.
used to
Oh,
show
yeah.
up?
Man,
How
this
far
was-
do you go back with LRS, by the way?
Well, when did it start?
64.
I go back to the beginning because
Yeah.
I would come to Louisville to visit family in my teen years, and I got my first. Well, my brothers. I'm the oldest of six. My brother's 2 years younger than me, and so we did farm work, not just for Daddy, who was a coal miner and a farmer, but Daddy let us keep our tobacco money, and so we could buy our own stuff. And so we bought a 65 Honda motorcycle. It was more of a dirt bike, and then we got a 305, which is a bigger road bike. And when I was 16, I got my license, and we rode the motorcycle. My brother was 14. We came to Louisville, and my most of my family lived in the South. All of them lived in the South End, and for the longest time, I thought the South End was Louisville. I thought that was it. And
That's funny.
yeah, and I love the South End of Louisville, and so. But one day I rode my motorcycle. I followed the buses from Valley High School on field day to Cherokee Park. That's where they had field day.
All right, that's
and
my
I
park.
saw Cherokee Park.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, I know I love it. But my first thought was, growing up on a farm and hunting and everything, Daddy gave me my first gun when I was 2. Daddy was the godfather of coal miners and farmers, and he was the best shot. He was a 10th degree badass, a 10th degree smart ass. If anybody had a problem, they came to Daddy.
Right.
And so
Love it.
And he taught my brother and me how to fight when we were little boys. He was a bare knuckle boxer, never lost a fight. He was a deputy sheriff. If the sheriff had somebody who was too mean for him to handle, he called Daddy, and Daddy would go take care of it. And he'd take my brother and me. So we watched a lot of stuff that went down. So I'm on my motorcycle behind these buses coming into Cherokee Park, seeing all these squirrels. And my first thought was, damn, if I just had my shotgun, you know.
Right.
It's like, what the hell?
If you see Ron Whitehead in Cherokee Park shooting at squirrels, just let him be. Just let him be. That's amazing, Ron.
Oh, God.
I love it. How did you first get into music? I know your family obviously played. Your mama played and sang alto, right?
And well, you know, when I heard the gospel quartets would come into our Southern Baptist church, and so I grew up with that gospel music, and especially the quartets, though, that put life into it, and is, you know, they brought like what you experience in a black Baptist church musically into the white Baptist church, like Elvis brought the black music into the white community. And so that lit my fire, and man, you know, Edgar Casey, the greatest psychic of all time, who's a Kentucky farm boy, grew up outside of Hopkinsville, said that lightning is the closest we can come to know God in nature. And I was born on Thanksgiving Day, 1950, in the midst of the worst blizzard to ever hit Kentucky. It included lightning and thunder, and I love lightning and thunderstorms. I go outside when there is one, and so rock and roll had that same lightning and thunder energy. And so when I heard Bob Dylan perform, like when they started playing his first album, and then I was hearing the Beatles and the Rolling Stones at the same time. It was like, this was electric. This was me. And this brought, you know, I got goosebumps. It connected with the inner core of my being. And so years later, I produced the first ever open mic poetry reading at Anthony's by the Bridge downtown Louisville here. This was in April of 92. 400 people came, and a couple of musicians came up and said, do you mind if we do a song? I said, please do. And as soon as they performed, I saw the energy in the room change. And so from that point on, I started producing. I produced, you know, a few thousand arts events and festivals in Europe and the United States. I started combining music and poetry and combining it into my own work as well, and started working with musicians, every kind of music, because I love all kinds of music, all over the world. And no matter where I go, if I don't take a band with me, I got my own band, the Storm Jyneration Band. I will ask whoever's invited me, say in Portugal. I've done 3 tours in Portugal. Fado, I never heard of Fado, F-A-D-O, until I went to Portugal. That's the old, traditional, tragic, romantic music. They make special instruments to play it on.
That sounds amazing.
It's so beautiful.
Fado?
Oh, my God. Fado.
F-A-D-O.
It's so beautiful. You would love it.
Oh, I'm gonna Google it like right now.
Check it out. And so I said, do you have any Fado musicians who would accompany a poet for my performances there? And said, yes, in fact, we got the perfect person. And so I did that in Portugal. I loved it. And I performed with dancers there. I like to combine all the arts possible and singers. And then I was invited to Iceland to do 3 shows there. And I ended up did my first performance. I was of 3. The Minister of Culture invited me over, and so it's a long story.
You're fascinating.
No, listen, I got to tell this.
Yeah,
okay,
tell it.
I worked with Allen Ginsberg the last 5 years of his life, from 92 to 97. Then in 98, with Al Aronowitz, the rock and roll journalist who introduced the world to the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and Bob Dylan, and took Bob Dylan to the meeting with the Beatles and took the marijuana and turned the Beatles on to marijuana for the first time, got
Right.
everybody high. Well, Al Aronowitz and I produced in '98 at the Band Shell in Central Park in New York City the Allen Ginsberg tribute. And so I worked with Al Aronowitz for some time. He was finally blacklisted from journalism because he was doing so much cocaine. He threatened the people he worked for to blow up the building. He got pissed off at him about something, and
He went crazy.
They
It's
fired him.
like-
He went nuts.
He went postal, technically.
But he got his shit together back later
Yeah.
on, and we became friends and did a lot of work together.
Badass, man.
So anyway, I invited people from all over the world to come to that event, people who had translated and published Ginsberg. And so 3 folks from Iceland came to that event, and a woman and 2 men. And so I ended up staying in Iceland for 2 years. But the 2 guys, it turned out, they asked me, they said, the Minister of Culture had sent us, and they want you to present 3 readings in Reykjavik. And so I went over a little bit later, and one of them was at the main music club in downtown Reykjavik. And we got there, and early in the day, one of the guys said, he said, "Do you mind if we accompany you on guitar for your reading tonight?" And I'd learned enough by then to know, I said, "Well, why don't you play a little bit for me?"
Yeah.
So I can tell, because
Yeah, you
some
didn't
people
know.
asked me that and they weren't too
Oh,
good, let me tell you.
I understand that. I've been there.
Especially drummers, especially like new drummers.
Yeah.
Well, they want to be heard, so they'll play, and especially
Super
with a
crazy
poet.
loud. Yeah.
I mean, they'll play really loud so they can be heard. To hell with
understand.
anybody else. And
Show
so
up with a cajon or a djembe, dude.
yeah. So I asked these guys to play some, and they like 2 of the best guitarists ever. So it
Badass.
turns out that they were founding members of Utengarsmen, which translates to the Outsiders. They had shared the stage with The Clash. They were voted Iceland's best rock band of the 20th century, and came up with Bjork and the Sugar Cubes and all those people.
Cool,
and so
man.
they accompanied
That's
me.
rad.
And so we got to the club. People were lined up down the street to get in. And I knew, who the hell are these people here for? We went up to the bar, and I heard this sound. It sounded like angels playing, singing. And I said, "Who is that?" "It sounds like angels." And they said, "That's Sigur Rós. They're opening for you. They're Iceland's hottest band." And so I said, "Oh, God, as soon as they're done, they'll leave. Nobody will be here." And so I said, "What the hell?" And so it turns out that the guys I was with, who were playing with me, the Pollock brothers, Michael and Danny, had spread the word that they were accompanying me. They told folks about me. Sigur Rós were big fans of the Pollock brothers and Utengarsmen, so they stuck around. Therefore, all their fans stuck around, and the place was packed when I performed. And so, like, every door in Iceland opened for me.
Wow.
I ended up
Yeah.
performing, doing some touring with Sigur Rós, and their name. I got them out of Iceland, and they signed with Fat Cat in London, and then Iceland became around that time, it was becoming a hot spot for European record labels to sign new bands, and it's become even more so since then. But they, after Fat Cat, they signed with the biggest record and film label, DreamWorks. So they're with them. They've been to Louisville twice, and they played with, the last time they were here, they played at the Palace, and guess who the only person who had the best seat in the house was?
Probably you.
And so, I took my daughter and my
Close enough to grab the set list.
grandson, and man, it was awesome. So I had a couple of incredible years in Iceland. I love Iceland.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful, man.
and one more Iceland story.
Do it.
And then, okay, in 2008, I went with my band Southside. We were invited to play at Iceland's Airwaves Festival. It's like considered by many to be the best rock music festival in Europe, and that's where all labels go now. And this was 2008. Scott Mertz was a member of my band Southside.
Yeah.
Scott and I have hung together a lot. Scott is incredible, and And so you're talking about a great musician.
By the way, you know me and Scott did a record together.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the Your News Vehicles, Y&V.
That's right. That's
yeah.
right. Oh my God.
I played with them for a long time.
I forgot about
I think
that.
I even set in with y'all at Southside at some point at the Hideaway.
You did. You did.
I thought I did.
Oh my God.
I was like, it's just coming back to me now.
What an incredible band that was, and this band now is pros.
Yeah.
And a lot of I talked with. They played at Gonzo Fest, this last Gonzo Fest, and they're such a tight band.
Oh, one more thing. I also did recently, I teamed back up with Scott Mertz, and we did headliners for the Queens of Drag, which he got up and did Proud Mary with Hurricane Summers with a full backing band. I was on drums for that.
Oh,
it was
awesome,
wild.
man.
He was in a dress, and I was in a tux.
That's fantastic.
Was awesome.
Hurricane is awesome. I didn't
I
know
love Hurricane.
I didn't know Hurricane was still working.
Yeah, I actually saw Hurricane at Louisville Pride in the Highlands last weekend.
Sweet.
She said she was front row for my show.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was super cool.
I did a show with Hurricane hosted at Arts Watch on Frankfurt Avenue back in God.
I could see y'all hanging out
over a decade ago, and it was like Derek Manley. You know Derek?
Yes, I love Derek.
Derek, he's
the Fuck Monkeys.
he is so amazing.
Right.
Well, they performed, and then my second wife Sarah Elizabeth and I performed at that event, and it was.
And I've performed with her too.
Oh, cool.
I remember the vagina monologues at the University of Louisville.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
That's I think how I actually met you that first
that's right.
night.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I loved it.
Although I knew your son for years.
Vagina monologues.
Yeah, man, what a cool thing.
It is great.
They let me, they do different versions of that. And they have different pieces they use, but they do it every February, and it's Eve Ensler and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
The director went, I just want a female drummer, and I just want your silhouette, and I just want you to sit up on the stage and just play, and we're going to give you this cool light where you just see, I don't want to see your face. So I just looked down the whole time with a cool hat on and just played in between those segments. And I thought, what a cool addition. Like, you didn't want a flute player or a guitarist. They just wanted a female drummer. And I played drum set. So, yeah, that was a cool gig. And I think that's where I met you the first time.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of female musicians, well, to make a quick leap here, and I want to go back to Scott Mertz in Iceland in a minute. But Nancy Wilson, the band Heart. Okay, well, when Cameron Crowe was producing his movie Elizabethtown, they all stayed at the Brown Hotel, and he did most or all of the production work here in Kentucky.
Right, I remember that.
That was dedicated to his dad, and everybody, Kirsten Dunst, Orlando Bloom, all those people, and Nancy Wilson. Nancy did the music for that, and Jim James in My Morning Jacket, who I've been friends. I haven't seen Jim for quite some time, but I'm friends with him and done a lot of work with those guys, especially early on. And he's on one of my albums, From Iceland to Kentucky and Beyond. He plays the guitar on one of my poems.
I love that.
And so I got an email one day, and it was from Cameron Crowe and Nancy Wilson, and they said, at first, when I get phone calls or emails like this, at first I think, is this a prank?
Yeah, I would too.
So
I'd be like, what the hell is this?
Wait a minute.
Right.
It's like,
sure it
Cameron
is.
Crowe and Nancy Wilson. Right. And so...
by the way, my landlord has opened up for Heart. She has a great story about it. She's in her 70s. But,
whoa.
But go ahead.
Well,
finish your story.
I'm a huge Heart fan. And I love, like, the women of rock. Oh my God! I mean, the show. I love any women.
You're talking to a woman rocker. You know what I'm
do.
saying?
I know.
Yeah.
I come from a long line of farmers, coal miners, and strong women, and I have all my life have encouraged women to be strong. And if you're stuck, no matter what reason, fight your way out. Find a way out.
Truth.
Yeah, and so. So anyway, I got an email saying, we love your poetry. We would like to include one of your poems on the back cover of a soundtrack for Elizabethtown. I'm like, after I calmed down and figured out it was legit, and
right.
exchanged a couple emails.
And ran around the house 20,000 times in circles
like,
going,
what?
Yeah,
What?
That's what I'd be
And so
doing.
they ended up including part of, I wrote this 21-part Kentucky haiku. Jack Kerouac bastardized the formal haiku. He was an experimental writer. All the great writers are. They study, they learn the traditional ways, but then they go their own way.
Yeah.
And I'd done that same thing. And so I bastardized Kerouac's bastardization even more. And so
Ding, ding, ding for that. I love that.
and so I wrote this Kentucky haiku, and it's a real picture of Kentucky,
Yeah.
each haiku. And so they took several of those and include those on the back cover of the soundtrack.
Wow.
And the
For
soundtrack's got
Elizabethtown.
like Bill Monroe, Elvis Presley, My Morning Jacket,
Mm-hmm.
Nancy Wilson,
Wow.
and others.
You're like
on it.
rubbing the
I'm like,
elbows with some of the grades. Yeah.
yes. Oh,
And I
fraud.
do consider My Morning Jacket some of the grades too.
Yeah,
Jim James.
no,
yeah.
they have
Heck
certainly
yeah.
become.
They have owned their
one of the
slot,
greats.
man.
They have.
I've seen him live so many times, and I'm just always blown away by Jim James. He's such an amazing, dude. I
he's-
loved his producers and all that stuff.
Well, one of the live lunches I did for WFPK, speaking of another radio station
Yeah,
in town
we love
now.
FPK.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I've done a number of live lunches there, and one of them was like, I brought in, I like to blow things up.
Yeah.
We
Who
used
doesn't?
we used dynamite to digging wells when I was a boy on
Yeah.
the farm, blowing up trees when we were.
I was about to put an M16 in a bowling ball last night.
See,
so.
there you go. And
So we're on the
Hunter,
same page.
Hunter S. Thompson and I like hit it off. I mean, he was a badass, but it's like after being like spending 17 years with my dad, hanging out with Hunter is like, come on,
Yeah, let's talk about Hunter.
show me something.
How did you meet Hunter?
Well, Hunter and I knew about each other for a long time, and there was respect, but we really didn't work together until it was like from 94 to 98 were some intense years of working together because, and it started with my friend, historian Douglas Brinkley, America's leading historian. Doug and I have done a lot of work together. He's written books, presidential biographies and lots of others, and he's editor of Hunter's Letters and supposed to be, and I'm hoping there have been delays, the official biographer for Bob Dylan and Hunter S. Thompson. And so he brought a busload of students from Hofstra University, where he was a professor at the time. He was in New Orleans for a long time. In '96, he and I produced the New Orleans 48-hour nonstop music and poetry insomniac-a-thon at the New Orleans Contemporary Arts Center and the Howlin' Wolf Club. Amazing event.
Wow.
So in '94, he came to town with a busload of students traveling cross country, visiting national parks, famous poets and writers, their homes. He came here to visit Muhammad Ali's and Hunter S. Thompson's boyhood homes. And so Doug and I hung out. I was producing a 48-hour nonstop music and poetry insomniac-a-thon, my fourth of that year, '94. This was the last one. At Memorial Auditorium and at 4 different locations. I brought in Jim Carroll, author of the Basketball Diaries, made into a movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio. His band, I put him up at the Brown Hotel. He told me about, how Patti Smith gave him his start in music. And Jack Kerouac and others praised him as brilliant, teenage writer. And so he told me how he got hooked on heroin. He thought heroin was the light drug and marijuana was the dangerous drug because of all the propaganda he had been fed.
Mm-hmm.
He was dyslexic. He said, I got everything backwards, including that.
Including drugs.
Yeah.
Dude, that's
Which was
something you
pretty
don't want to
funny.
flip-flop.
Yeah, it was pretty,
That
pretty
is
funny.
funny.
But anyway, so Doug came, and so we had some long talks. He said, look, the time has come for this town, for Louisville, to start honoring and paying tribute to their native son, Hunter S. Thompson, like they've started doing to the great Muhammad Ali. who was one of Hunter's heroes, one of my heroes, poet and boxer. Are you kidding me? We was listening to him on AM radio as Cassius Clay in the Olympics, and he's one of my favorites. So anyway, after these conversations, Doug and I shook hands and said, he finally said, he said, hey, Ron, I don't live here. You do. I said, you bastard. Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So I started then in 94. So it's been 25 years working to get
Well,
the
you've
city.
done well because it's all over the place.
Well, finally.
There's Gonzo,
This is the big year. It's the year of Gonzo.
In the Highlands, the Gonzo Fest.
yeah,
You've got all that stuff,
The
right?
UK Art Museum, the Fraser History Museum, the Speed Art Museum all had major exhibits this year. And this is our 9th year. 9 years ago, thank you to Denny Humphrey, who was at the Monkey Ranch at the time.
Yay,
Denny
we
and
love
I,
Denny
yeah,
Humphrey.
man, he's so awesome. We've been
He's
friends.
a badass.
We've been friends for so many years, and so he called me. And said,
Speaking
Ron,
of which, by the way, I hung out with him for his 40th birthday in New Orleans on Bourbon Street, and he saw me play Bourbon Street for the first time ever.
oh man,
that night. It was
I love
such
New
a fun
Orleans.
weekend.
I love New Orleans.
Me too. I love New Orleans.
I love it, and that. So Doug and I got a historic marker. Okay, Jack Kerouac and On the Road, published in 1957, talks about they're on the road. He and Dean Moriarty, they're traveling cross country, and they stop in Algiers, which is outside, across the river from New Orleans, and stop to visit Old Bull Lee, William Burroughs. So Doug and I, who's one of the original members of the Beat Generation, Doug and I got a historic marker put up at Burroughs' at his home there in Algiers. So that was like, I think the most amazing, and I've produced some incredible events, the most amazing Insomniac-a-thon I produced. So anyway, I agreed to start doing that work. Mayor Greg Fisher, who I don't care what you think of him politically, he's a great guy, and he's like, we've been friends for a long time, and he's come on board as a big supporter of Gonzo Fest, and he says, Ron, anything you do, I'm going to be part of. And
I love that.
Thank you.
By the way, he called LRS his favorite radio station in Louisville the other day.
He loves music.
Yes, he does. And he gave us a little proclamation there on the wall. He declared February 20th is LRS the Walrus Day.
God, that's so awesome. It doesn't surprise me at all.
I love Mayor Fisher.
He was I think he went to Vanderbilt, and he was like in charge of booking the big bands for entertainment for Vanderbilt.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and Bob Marley was like one of them, and so he's a huge music fan.
Is he a huge Bob Marley fan?
Yeah, So
dude, me too. Legends is one of my go-to albums, my top 10.
God. So anyway, we've had a lot of talks about music and a whole lot of other things. So anyway, I was at New York University. I met the Dalai Lama. I worked for a year.
Yeah, let's talk about that because I knew you'd met the Dalai Lama.
I worked for a year. I brought Lawrence Ferlinghetti, who just turned 100. Lawrence founded the first paperback bookstore and publishing company, City Lights Books, 261 Columbus Avenue, North Beach, San Francisco, 1953. The first paperback bookstore in the United States. It's a mecca now for people all over the world, independent thinkers, editors, publishers, just people. So I brought Ferlinghetti to Louisville. I started this international reading series, and I told me for a year to get him to come, and so he said, if you'll take me to Thomas Merton's grave at the Abbey of Gethsemane, I'll come. And I said, it's done. So we went down and got the grand tour of the Abbey of Gethsemane. Thomas Merton is a great inspiration to me. And on the drive back, our drive back, he said, why don't you bring the Dalai Lama? He's never been to Kentucky, and he would love to visit Merton's grave. He talks still to this day, talks about Thomas Merton and the great inspiration that he was. Merton changed the Dalai Lama's life and inspired him to become more ecumenical and accepting of all peoples and all religions. And so he talks about that. And so I worked for a year. The Dalai Lama ended up coming. I had the opportunity to ask him one question. And I told him, I said, New York University has asked me next month to produce this 48-hour nonstop music and poetry insomniacathon to kick off their week-long 50-year celebration of the Beat Generation. And most of those folks were still alive then. Well, they all were, except Kerouac and Cassidy, who died in 68 and 69. And so I said, over 300 young people from around the world will be performing at my event. Will you please share with me a message I can share with young people of all ages? And he smiled real big and closed his eyes and gave me this long message, and it was like the strangest thing that had ever occurred in my life. Through some kind of a spiritual transmission is what I called it, all I heard while he was talking, and this happened to be recorded, the media was there, was all I heard were the words to the poem Never Give Up, and it appeared just like a movie, a photo on the screen of my mind. And so when he got done, I was staring in front of me, I was sitting down, and he got up, and I thought it was a press conference after his big talk at the Kentucky Center. It was in the Mary Anderson room there in April of '94. And Jay McGowan, the president of Bellarmine at the time, he said, okay, that's it, Dalai Lama's got more stuff to do. And I thought it was over. Mm-hmm. And I was looking in front of my feet, blown away by what had just happened. This great gift had been laid on me. And I looked up in front of my feet, and there's this yellow burgundy color there, and I looked up, and there's the Dalai Lama standing right above me, and I felt like a little kid. I didn't know what the hell to do. I just he was looking in my eyes, I looked at his eyes, and I held my hand up, my right hand up, and he grabbed it in both his hands, and he squeezed it, and he bowed, blessing the message, blessing me and the message he had just given me. So I wrote it all down, the experience, the poem. I mailed it to him in Dharamsala, India, saying, thanking him, would you please bless this poem? I want to produce a poster of this Never Give Up poem. And I've been sharing it with people ever since. It's all over the world. It's in his books. It's banners at rock concerts. It's everywhere. The Beastie Boys used it.
Cool.
And so
I love the Beastie Boys.
Me too. And I saw them live. I mean, when Lollapalooza first started out, they gave me one of the political tables for everything I was selling, my posters and everything. And so I got like the best seats in the house, backstage passes.
Dude, I'm hanging out with you more often.
So many people. Oh my God.
Why haven't I been hanging out with you more?
Eddie Vedder, Pearl Jam.
Right,
I mean,
badass.
just go down this long list of incredible
You are a true rock and roller, man.
Performers.
There is something about rock and roll that's just never going to die.
It's electric.
It is electric.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel it too.
Yeah, we are energy waves. We are vibrations. We are electricity more than anything. And so rock and roll music, is electricity. And that's why I love it so much.
Me too, man. All the famous rock and roll drummers that I grew up worshiping, I mean, Keith Moon, John Bonham, like all these, Mitch Mitchell. Yeah. I mean, I could go on forever. Ginger Baker, all those classics.
I saw Cream. I was doing acid when I saw Cream.
Really?
Yeah.
Right on, man. How was that? Getting to see Ginger Baker live, man.
Oh, man. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
I bet.
What a
I can't
night.
even imagine.
What a night.
Wait, you've seen some of the best concerts, man, from Zeppelin to everybody.
Well, and today, I'm so glad, like, okay, Louder Than Live.
Yeah.
The week before, these major
loudest rock concert in the country.
All these major concerts happening here, I just decided, it costs so much unless I get a pass, and I often get passes to go.
Man, I had some tickets. If I'd have known, I'd have thrown them at you.
Okay. Okay, next time.
Next time I know who to call.
Yeah.
Ron Whitehead.
Yeah, but it's because it's gotten so expensive.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know.
from back
Man,
in the
those
day.
tickets were like hotcakes. I'm telling you, $200 a pop or something like that. I can't even remember what they were.
And so, but I said, because lots of friends went, I said, okay, the problem with so many festivals is, including some I've produced, but you live and learn, is that you got music, you got to happenings going on at different venues, different locations, different stages, and people are torn. I want to see that. I want to see this. They're having it at the same time. What are we going to do? I said, how did they have the stages set up? So they said the two main stages were set up side by side, so they could break one down while the other one was going. So that was perfect.
I had a friend staying with me that was a stagehand for the Foo Fighters and a bunch of other cats, and she was on the stage, like, doing cables and tearing down drums. Yeah, I was like, sweet.
Yeah.
I love a stagehand though. Especially when I'm on stage.
No kidding. I have the greatest respect
I'm like,
for them.
You're going to set my stuff up?
The greatest respect. And, I have the greatest respect for musicians too, because being a poet.
Yeah.
You see my book bag here?
Yeah,
I take this wherever I go. Lawrence Ferlinghetti has given me a series of these.
San Francisco, dude.
When one wears out, I get another one. And but I've climbed the Viking Mountain in Iceland, and there's a story there. But I've climbed that, and I didn't even realize until I was halfway up that I had my book bag with me. And it's like when I get on a plane to go somewhere, I ain't checking this in. This is not going in my suitcase. This is on me.
That's right.
If the plane goes down, this is going with me.
I hear you. You got some kind of magic hidden in there.
Yeah. So.
Hey, tell me real quick. There was a story you were telling me a long time ago. I think it may be in Honduras or somewhere like that. But you had went somewhere and there was some kind of big parade thing, and
Nicaragua.
they carried you in a
Nicaragua.
They carried you in a coffin.
Yeah. The annual. Okay.
That's crazy.
It was amazing. This huge. It's one of the best annual international poetry festival. The main poets from all 7 continents are invited. It's an annual thing, of course, with all the political problems now in Nicaragua. They not having it now, but this was a decade ago. I was invited down to be one of the featured performers. They treat you like a queen, a king, and Nicaragua is like, the poverty is so great, but the people are so proud, and it's a country of poets. Like Estonia, where I stayed in April and May this year. Estonia, which I'd love to talk about that in a minute. It's incredible, a country of singers. Estonia was a country of poets in Nicaragua. So Carnival, they have the festival during Carnival.
Oh, cool.
So one day,
I would love to be there doing that.
It's amazing. And so this parade, this long parade, goes all the way through Granada, and they have all these floats, and one is for the featured poets. It stops like every block or two along the way, and one of the featured poets you climb up these stairs, and at the top, and they have the mic and the loudspeaker set up so people all over the town can hear you, and you read one of your poems. And so, but in the front of the parade, they have this old time, a horse pulling a hearse with this guy dressed up in the outfit, the undertaker, and the coffins in that thing. And so I'm walking along with the vice presidents of this festival, and I asked one of them, I said, tell me about this. And he said, well, every year we decide one sin that we feel like the country needs to work on more than any other of, the worst sins. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay. And so symbolically, that sin is in the coffin. And the parade will end at Lake Nicaragua, which is this huge freshwater lake, only one of 2 lakes in the world where they have freshwater sharks. And so it'll get there at sunset. And so this is a long affair, this Carnival. And so I said, and so we walk along a little further, and I'm thinking, and I asked the vice president, has anybody ever gotten in the coffin? And they looked at me like...
It sounds like something I would say.
They looked at me like
what the...
Yeah.
WTF?
Yeah. And they said, no. And I said, well, what do you think about this? And
I know where it's going.
And so I said...
Just give me cold chills, Ron.
I said, okay, this is the way I live. It's the way I think.
I know.
Ideas come to me all the time, and
You're
I act
visionary, man.
I act on my ideas when they arrive to me out of the realms of the creative imagination, the shadowland. And so I said, how about you get up here where it's kind of a protected area, and y'all stand around me, open up the back, let me get in the coffin. I'll ride it the rest of the way, and I will assume I will take all of the sin of pride. Pride was the sin they had decided on that year, and I will assimilate it into me, and I will transform it into love. And so when we get to the end, to the beach, Lake Nicaragua, there were thousands of people there. People come from all over the country for this. It's a major celebration, and all the media is there, including people from other countries were there, and the mayor of Granada, Nicaragua, and the vice president of the country, and so they give a talk over these loudspeakers where everybody in town can hear you. And I said, there's like a lid over the face of the coffin. You take that lid off and let people know that there's somebody in the coffin. This has never happened before. And the word will spread to the crowd. And so we did that. And they thought I was nuts. And
I'm sure they did.
And so
I would have been there being like, yes, dude got in the coffin.
Well, so
I got cold chills again.
They put me in that coffin, and we go on, and I never even thought about how rough that damn ride over those cobbles, that cobbled street would be in the back of that old time hearse with no shocks.
That.
And that shook the hell out of me. And then they take me out, and the people who took me out had no idea anybody was in the coffin, so they just handled it like a bale of hay, you know?
Right.
And so
they're just like throwing it around.
Yeah. And so I'm like, holy shit.
Did you throw up or anything?
No, but it was quite a ride. And then they put me on the sand there on the beach, and they opened that door up, and I had kept my sunglasses on, and the people kind of got quiet around. There's people everywhere, and I had the best translator there, and she was saying, "There's somebody in there," and then she translated it, into Spanish, and then they pulled the lid off slowly, and I got out slowly, and it was like just dead silence over like thousands of people, and then they gave me the microphone, and I said a few words about, it's a great honor for me to ride in the coffin and take your sin of pride and to transform it into love. Viva Nicaragua. And it's like, and my translator translated that, and the whole place was pandemonium. It went crazy. And the vice
all of a sudden, you're the new
the
Messiah.
vice president said that you are Ron. On the way back, he said, "Ron, you're the hero of the festival." And so I didn't think about any of that, but the idea just came to me, and so I just did it without thinking about anything.
By the way, that's your intuition, man.
So that's just
you're
the way
a visionary.
that's the way I operate, though.
I know, and I kind of operate the same way, but in a different sense. You know what I mean? But I love that about you.
Well, thanks for asking.
You go with whatever you want to do and create it, and you make it happen. You put it out in the universe, and then boom, there it is.
Yeah, but there's been a few times over the years when I've had some regrets about some of those decisions, but it's like some of them came back to bite me in the ass.
I've been there, yes. I understand that.
But that's what I continue to do anyway. That's
a badass story. You know what? I would have done it for the damn story. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't even think about that at the time, but thank you.
Yeah,
and thanks for asking
what a
about
story.
it. I love Nicaragua. I'm really sad about what the people are enduring down there now with the dictator taking over, who once upon a time was a freedom fighter, and like Castro in Cuba. Another place where I kept up with that place and the revolution they had there. I read every biography on Che Guevara that came out. Good man. And I had so much anger in me, because my dad, good man, but he used to beat me until I was bloody sometimes. Just that's the way you discipline. Yeah. The way he grew up, one of 11, and rough. And but I was a fierce kid, and nobody's gonna walk on me. And so I started standing up to him when I was 5 years old. Stupid, but then I became the defender of my mom and my siblings after that, and so there was some bad situations, and so I had by the time I left home when I was 17, left the farm, I swore that I would never go. I would leave Kentucky and by God never come back.
Yeah.
And all I wanted to do was take a mental crap of everything that had been forced into me and find out who the hell Ron Whitehead was.
Right.
And
how old were you about that?
I was
time?
17.
Okay.
17.
That's pretty early.
I started school when I was 5. We didn't have kindergarten. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to hang out with my friends. And I wanted to learn. I just loved the whole thing. I didn't miss a day of school the first 6 years. I got straight A's. Hell, I just loved doing it. I love.
Yeah.
I
And what county was it again?
Ohio County,
Ohio
West Kentucky,
County.
across the Green River from Muhlenberg. Was the Everly,
I grew up-
Everly brothers and
Yeah,
Merle
I grew
Travis.
up right there off of the Green River,
Just a
Lake
little-
Cumberland, Green River.
Just a little further down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And I just performed in Somerset.
Oh yeah, I went to school. Well, I got my EMT thing like there. I my aunt used to be the Head Start director in Somerset.
Well, I knew that your roots are from down around that way.
Yeah, South Central. All my fam's down South Central, Bowling Green. We're all sprawled out throughout Kentucky. I'm the only one in Louisville, other than I have a cousin who's a mortician here. That's it.
Cool.
She just moved here.
And to come up, and what I tell people is, they got Jarfly Brewing is on downtown in Somerset now, and it's become the new hangout. It's a great place. Yeah. Next time you're down there, and we had a packed house, big event with some incredible musicians from Somerset area. And then this other.
There's great musicians down in that area. I mean,
Fantastic.
that's where I came from.
Fantastic,
so.
I know. And so I've thought about more than once about how people like you and me, outsiders,
Outsiders of Louisville.
grow up in places like that, and how do we make our way and find our way? And
Man, I tell
it's
you
quite
what,
a journey.
I love to tell this story, and it won't take much time. But growing up in a town of 2,800 people, where there was just a few stop signs, and we didn't have a McDonald's, and we didn't have a Walmart. Those kind of little towns. It was dry. There was no such thing as alcohol, even though all the Southern Baptists had it on Sundays.
Oh yeah, and
They
they're
were hiding it.
bootleggers.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, we'd go to the bootleggers, man. Yeah. So, but I came to Louisville, and then I was like, oh, I didn't even know what a gay bar was, until I came to Louisville. I didn't know that they had private schools like they do, all female and all male. And then all of a sudden, I'm out in L.A. in 2014, and the first night I was out there, I met my band, and they were all from the area, so they were all living in Beverly Hills and everywhere else. They knew everybody and had played with a lot of people. First night I'm there, Supreme Court passes gay marriage, and they take me to West Hollywood for the first night.
While you're there.
While I was there.
Fantastic.
And took me to the Abbey and all up and down that
Nice.
strip, and I was just like, holy crap.
It's another
There
world.
are a lot of people exactly like me, because I was an outsider even at my hometown.
Exactly.
Because I was different. They didn't understand me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I came to Louisville for my own diversity and to explore more
freedom.
diverse. Yes, and
Yes.
different perspectives.
Yes.
And then I find myself in LA where I was like, oh, well, maybe I'm not the crazy one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Freer still. Yeah. Yeah. It's just such a shame that everybody everywhere can't be ourselves, aren't allowed to be ourselves, no matter where we're from. And I feel bad. I love small towns. I wrote a poem about
I do too.
I love small towns, and I sure do miss them. But you know what? But I don't want to live in one because it's just too stifling for me. I can't breathe in one, and that's nothing against them. But my artist friends who choose to continue to live in them, bless each and every one of them, because it's a battle, a daily battle that they have to wage just
Now,
to be
I would
themselves.
love to live on a farm, though. I love a garden.
out
I
in the
love all
country.
kinds. I like
Yeah.
outside things. That's
Yeah.
the one thing I do love
Yeah.
about small towns.
Yeah.
But I agree with you on their thinking sometimes is not what I prefer, and I don't like to be surrounded with certain things and negativity and certain ideas and perspectives. So therefore, I moved to somewhere that was a little bit more diverse for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course, when I saw California, it just blew my mind. I was like, wow, there's all kinds of people, especially being there on such a historic moment for the LGBTQ AI plus community.
Yes.
The first night gay marriage passes, I'm in LA for the
fantastic.
first night.
That's
Yeah.
that was a blessing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just remember there are just people everywhere celebrating and crying and
Yeah.
holding each other. And I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
I love to travel because I think that's where you get, and you've traveled a lot,
Yes.
obviously.
Yeah, it's the
Iceland,
best education.
Nicaragua, everywhere.
Yeah.
London, everywhere.
Yeah, and I haven't found a place in Europe I don't like.
I hear you.
I love it.
Who doesn't love Europe? I mean, you know, it's
everywhere.
just,
Everywhere I go.
Where's the next?
And I was blessed in April and May. Backing up just a little bit, I was the first U.S. citizen, the fourth person to receive a UNESCO, the Tartu UNESCO City of Literature Writer in Residency honor and award. So they put me up in a museum. Estonia is between Finland and Russia, and I was a half hour from Russia. Estonia, 28 years ago, became a free and independent democratic nation. And so the people there celebrate their independence to this day.
Yeah.
And the young people are just thriving in this new freedom of expression. And the older folks, even though they're more wary of outsiders, more guarded, because of the oppression they lived under, are finally embracing this new world. And Estonia is one of the most cutting edge countries in the world today, and so I encourage everybody to go there. It's fantastic. I loved it. They put me up in a museum, like I said. I got so much work done. It was the most productive, creative weeks of my life. So, finished a new book. And
live on
the
air
view,
right now.
the view from Lawrence Ferlinghetti's bathroom window, from the beat to the outsider and beyond, just published by Underground Books in New York City, and edited another book a friend wrote about Hunter S. Thompson's Hell's Angels, which I never got to finish that story up in '96. Going back to that one real quick.
I also want to know how you met Hunter S. Thompson.
Okay, well, actually, I'll tell you this story. In '95, I went to the main post office downtown here. Is in the summer of '95 to pick up my mail. I had the largest P.O. box there, one of them, and somebody had scrawled in what looked like blood, "Ron Whitehead will die on August 20th." In
Of what year?
Huge letters, '95.
Oh, wow.
And so I thought,
Well, they were wrong.
and it was so
Way
bizarre.
wrong. They're
and
several years
I
old.
opened up my P.O. box, and there was a hand-colored, crayon-colored big package from Allen Ginsberg. There was another package from
wow.
Jim Carroll. And there was a tube in there and some more mail. And I went home, and then I called my wife at the time, and she said, that's a death threat. You need to go back to the post office and let them know. And so because I had been so stunned by it, I just went home. I didn't even tell anybody. And it was Saturday. I didn't even think about it. So I went back and I told the person, you need to come in here and look at this. Somebody's scrawled in blood a death threat to me on your wall in here. And so anyway, 20-some police came, the postal inspector came, and turns out the postal inspector had just gotten back from Russia, which was weird to me. And it was the day of the Unabomber was going on.
Wow.
And so I'd gotten this one tube, and they wanted to know if I had any enemies at the post office. And I said, what? I don't even know anybody at the post office. And do I have any enemies? Anybody who's a public figure has
Right.
enemies.
Well, yeah, of course.
And that was Saturday. And then Monday, I go to the library, the main library, where there's a big exhibit of my work, posters I've published, letters I've received from people all over the world. And somebody had scrawled hate messages on the Never Give Up Dalai Lama Ron Whitehead poster saying, get out of our effing country.
What?
You...
Here in Louisville?
Yeah, here in Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
And you Buddhist F. And and
Somebody knew you,
and
obviously,
yeah, obviously,
yeah.
and so for several nights, the postal inspector said, "Look, we've turned this over to the FBI. You'll be hearing from them." And for several nights, there were like door slamming, car wheels burning, rubber in front of the house. Phone calls, nobody on the phone, like 2, 3, 4 a.m. in the morning. FBI person calls, ask me questions. We'll get back with you in a week. They call back in a week. Sorry, we haven't got anything yet. We'll call you back in a week. and the car doors, tires burning, phone calls continue. And the FBI calls back a week later and they said, we're sorry to inform you that we've lost your file. Now, when does the FBI lose anybody's file? I'm like,
right,
what?
Exactly.
Great.
Although, by the way, if you're a conspiracy theorist, 9/11, there was a Building 7 that was right there.
I've read all that stuff.
FBI, yeah, they lost a lot of stuff.
I read all that stuff.
Yeah.
Y'all know I keep up with that stuff.
Yeah, I know you do.
The conspiracies go back to the beginning of time,
Correct,
So,
yeah. I love a good conspiracy
Cain
theory.
and Abel, as a conspiracy started right there. And so anyway.
So did you find out who was threatening you?
So there was nothing. The FBI lost my file, and nothing came of that. So I rented a car. My grandmother, granddaddy, Render, the Dixie Yodeler, who I told you about.
By the way, that's amazing. The Yodeler story.
Thank you.
The Nicaragua story.
Thank you.
Hunter S. Thompson.
Thank you.
It's just mind blowing.
So anyway, I decided to take my family. I raised 3 kids. I got three grown kids, 7 grandkids, and 2 godchildren in Iceland. So my kids are growing up, and
I'm friends with your son, Nathaniel.
Oh, Nathaniel. Oh, cool.
Yeah, of course.
Cool.
I've known him for years.
Oh, he's a wild child.
We've partied a few nights before in our day.
Oh God. Well, so I decided to take a 5,000-mile 2-week road trip out west, and first stop, of course, is to Hunter S. Thompson's home at Owl Farm, Woody Creek, Colorado. And so we stop in, and I told my kids, I think Nathaniel and Ronnie, my daughter, had met Hunter the year before at NYU at New York University. Hunter was there smoking weed on stage. He was on a panel there. At the end of the panel discussion, he said, I know some of you brought some drugs here today. Please bring those up and give me whatever you got. and so I go up and stand by him at the end of that, at the end of the discussion in front of the stage. And so his hands are full of pills that people have given him. I mean, people give him joints, but they give him pills. And so he's got a bottle of Chivas, his preferred drink. And so he takes a handful of pills. I don't know if he spit these out when he left. I don't think he did. And he just put them in his mouth and chugged a glass of Chivas and washed them down and then left. And he was like, and so I'm pretty sure, when I went up in 94, I took 150 young people with me. We caravaned I rented several vans.
It's amazing.
And high school and college age students, some of them performed. And so I was the only so-called adult to watch after them for a week in New York City. And I'm just thankful to this day that nobody got killed. And my oldest son I didn't know until much later, he got busted the first night after we arrived. He was trying to buy some acid from an undercover agent at NYU there.
Don't buy drugs from people you don't know.
It's like, but I'm so impressed. I was so impressed by him because he talked himself out of that.
Good for him.
How in the hell do you talk yourself out of going to jail when arrested by an undercover agent?
I don't know if I could. They've always taken me to jail.
I don't know if I could. So anyway, I was glad I didn't know because I had my hands full, watching after these kids and producing this 48-hour event.
By the way, I love the idea of an insomniathon.
Insomniacathon is crazy.
Insomniacathon. It's poetry nonstop all for
It's
48
poetry
hours.
and music.
And
It's
music,
incredible.
yeah.
It's just best kick-ass bands
Yeah.
and music. And like when bands are changing their set, you got poets perform.
That's so cool.
And so there's something going on
Yeah.
nonstop through the whole thing.
By the way, Ron, I wanted to tell you this. I started a duo that's called the Kentucky Beatniks.
Okay, that was one question I had for you.
Yeah, you're going to have to get up and do something with us.
So
It's
I
me
would
and
love
Nick Payne. Do
I
you
know Nick is an awesome guy.
Yeah, so
he
me
is.
and Nick Payne started a duo called the Kentucky Beatniks.
Okay, well, the next time y'all perform
All right.
in Louisville, please let me know,
I would
and
love
I'll
that.
come. I'll come and do a poem with y'all.
I want that.
Okay.
I mean, it's only right. You're our
Okay.
Kentucky Beatnik poet,
That's
slam
right.
poet, or
Okay,
whatever.
all right, I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
All right, it's a
so
plan.
so we go visit Hunter at Owl Farm. That's our first stop.
Yeah.
And so we get there, and I told my kids, and they knew what to expect. And so we get out of the car, and there's this god awful loud scream, like a bear is eating a kid, and the sound's coming in the yard. And so you look around the yard just to make sure, and so I told my kids, just expect anything, just be cool with it, just roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go on in, and Hunter's, offer me weed, cocaine, booze, whatever I want, and so I smoke a little grass with him, and I said, look, I'll just hold the cocaine till I come back next time. Just got my kids here, and so we hung out. Jack Nicholson called 3 times. Hunter's had 3 phones, and one's like I called it the red phone. It's where he had the speaker on it, and so that's where you were an insider if you
Did you just like push a button and
got to that phone.
It came out the speaker?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he
Badass.
kept there were loaded guns everywhere in the place, including a loaded pistol.
He loves
right,
his guns.
right by the phone, and there's this.
Don't give it to
Now-
Ron though; he'll be out back shooting squirrels.
now famous photo of Hunter picking that pistol up and handing it to me, and Deborah Fuller, who took care of Hunter for years. Deborah's a great lady, and she knows more about Hunter than anybody. And she's real private. I keep encouraging her when I have the opportunity to bring out her own book, because she could tell some stories. Let me tell you. But she took this incredible photo. Hunter said, "Here, hold this," and Hunter and I, put our arms around each other and stood to get Hunter sitting in his throne chair. I call it his throne chair in the kitchen there at Owl Farm, and I stood by him, and holding his loaded pistol up, and I'm not sure if that's the pistol he used to shoot himself on February 20th, 2005.
Hey, that's the day.
not.
I was going to say February 20th is Walrus Day in Louisville, Kentucky.
It's a great day. It's a
The
great.
mayor
dedicated
it.
That's a day of celebration, I think.
I did not know that was his death date.
Well, but people talk about, and there are really 2 factions about in regards to Hunter's suicide and suicide in general. And I said, Hunter, he drank, he took drugs to ease the pain, the suffering of living. I mean, he was a hypersensitive. He had a poet's soul, Hunter did, and he saw things, and he saw them in an instant, and he wrote about them, and he's a visionary writer.
Just like you, man. You're also one of those visionary writers. You're a visionary in every way and make things happen.
Well, thank
I
you.
like people like that.
Thank you. So Hunter and I hit it off, and we always did. We did from the get-go, and Doug and I talked about producing. Doug Brinkley, the historian, and I had talked about me producing the official Hunter S. Thompson tribute in Louisville, Kentucky. And so I thought, well, this is going to be the way to get the doors open here in Louisville. And so in December of 1996, and that's really on this trip in August, in August 1995, when I'm out visiting Hunter, getting him to sign some posters, because the next night we're driving on, after our long visit with Hunter, we're driving on through the night to San Francisco, where the next night Lawrence Ferlinghetti, who's now 100, my friend who I talked about earlier, took us out to dinner at the Chinese restaurant right next to Zoetrope Studios, Francis Ford Coppola Studios, which is right down the hill from City Lights. And then he gave my kids, $100 gift certificates. So here, go to the store and get whatever you want for $100, and each one of them did. And
that's amazing. By the way, I've also met Ronnie, your daughter, Ronnie.
Oh, cool.
I met her at a gig one night or
Cool.
something. That we were
cool. So anyway, we had a great visit with Hunter, and Hunter loved families. He loved kids. He loved people, and he had his persona. And so there's this.
By the way, I've already said this, but good job, because everywhere I go, I see Gonzo things. I see Hunter S. Thompson things.
Ew.
I really love that they put that mural in the Highlands. I see that every day.
Well, you know what? I just saw before I came down here, Denny Humphrey posted that somebody, and they captured him on film, spray painted the mural last night.
Are you serious? Which one?
The one at Vig Ridge.
The old Monkey Ranch. Are you serious?
Yeah. So, but
I used to live right behind the Monkey Ranch.
Well, Brad White, who works with Andy Cook, was oversaw the painting of that. There were 4 artists who did that. Andy and I have toured a lot. He's incredible.
I've played with Andy Cook too.
He's an incredible
he's awesome.
drummer and didgeridoo player.
Yes, he played didgeridoo. Yes,
and artist, and he's one of these rare people.
Remind me to talk to you about that. I got a didgeridoo I'm trying to find home for. But go ahead.
Oh my God! Well, he draws. He sees something or sees a photo, and he draws it. And it looks like the photo. He draws it with both hands simultaneously. I mean, this is really rare in art, in anywhere. And he's also a metal sculptor. But anyway, he oversaw the painting of that. Well, Andy and Brad White have their own Rocker Built. That's the name of their enterprise now. Well, Brad posted. He said that's got. The painting has some kind of a cover on it, so they're hoping that spray paint will wash off. I hope so.
I hope so too.
I can't believe
that area gets hit a lot because I used to live, of course, right there. So I lived, I've been in and out of the Highlands for 22 years now.
Yeah.
Off and on a few years.
I love the Highlands.
Me
Highlands,
too.
I don't like the gentrification.
Right.
I mean,
You know, it said, though, Ron, when I was working in political news, I saw a study. It wasn't a study, actually. It was some kind of something a college had put out. And basically, they said the people in the Highlands area, the 40205 area code, hold the highest number of degrees in the entire state of Kentucky.
Oh, cool.
More of them hold doctorate degrees, master's degrees. It just seems like a more educated area to me than almost anywhere.
Yeah.
And speaking of head shops, because you talked about starting one of the first paperback head shops in Lexington.
Yeah.
When I first came to Louisville, I was coming to the Kentucky State Fair with one of my best friends from Adair County, like Lake Cumberland area. So this is about 2 hours away.
All right.
And I remember as a kid driving up and down Bardstown Road, and I remember I saw Grateful Threads, and then I saw Electric Ladyland, and that mural of Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this place looks really cool. And I remembered that. Well, then skip to age 21. I'm working in television for a Warner Brothers affiliate, and it moves me here.
Cool.
And it took me about a year to find the Highlands again.
Cool.
And then I saw Grateful Threads, and I saw Electric Ladyland and the Jimi Hendrix mural, and I was like, this is where I want to live.
Yeah.
I want to live right here.
Yeah.
So I got a house in the Highlands.
Oh, cool.
It was on the same street as Atherton High School there on Emerson.
Yeah.
And then lived there for a long time. That was the band practice room, the house practice house. I had a hot tub. It was like my bachelor pad.
Cool.
Super badass house, super creative. In fact, the lady who owned that house was another Kentucky poet laureate named Sina Jeter Naslin. She was a writer from.
Oh, cool.
She was writing at Spalding. Do you?
Yeah.
She was
I know
my
her.
landlord for years.
Oh, wow.
And she travels back and forth to Finland and all this stuff. Anyway, I got to stay in the room where she wrote her first big bestseller, Ahab's Wife. That was my bedroom.
Great book.
For a long time.
Oh, wow.
So after that, moved into Germantown, had a shotgun house there, and just every time I try to get away from Louisville, the Highlands is like my magnet back in.
Well, and here's my thing. I love Louisville. I absolutely love it. I've been invited to live, and I'm sure you have too, in major cities around the world. And I love visiting cities. My favorite remains New York City as far as cities go, but I have other favorites, of course. But man, I mean, Louisville's just the ideal place for me. You can get to the airport in 10 minutes. You can be out of town in 10, 15 minutes into the nature, into the country. It's a friendly town, and you can just be yourself here. But I love Louisville. But, I wish that when these folks come in and gentrify the bohemian neighborhoods that create scenes, art scenes, that I wish that when they gentrify it, they would at least leave part of it that's affordable for artists, for their shops and for their living quarters.
Yeah.
So they can remain here. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm down with you on
that's
that.
my complaint.
Yeah, they have let
that.
it get a little bit out of control with the
Prices.
with the chains and the price. Yeah, the prices are
God.
expensive. Although I just got back from Nashville on Saturday or Sunday.
It's
and,
like blown up. Nashville's completely blown
dude,
up. Oh
Nashville's.
my God.
By the way, Ron, you're gonna love this. I just got featured because it involves film, like you do. You do a lot of film stuff. It was a women drummers documentary premiere film that they put me in.
I want
and
to
they
see. I want to see the film.
Yeah, it's online. It's on Vimeo right now. You
Oh,
can
good.
get it on any smartphone or tablet or
I'll watch
computer.
it.
Yeah,
All right.
it's about an hour and a half. It was really educating. It was super cool to see myself up in a documentary. And
great.
they, my girl Beverly McClellan that I did the Hillbilly Swagger record with had just passed.
Yeah.
and I'm still putting out some of that project
Oh,
because
good.
I had so many recordings.
Yeah.
I just and it's hard to go back and edit your friend who has passed.
Yeah.
It just really is.
Yeah.
But I've been doing that slowly, and
Yeah.
they used a couple of the tracks underneath,
Oh,
so
cool.
that was super special. And then afterwards, I got to do a question and answer series. So,
Good.
that was fun.
Good for you.
know.
I saw a photo of you on stage as
that
a
was
panelist.
it.
That's
yeah, I was
great.
like, oh gosh, what are they
Man.
going to ask me?
Yeah.
And I was hoping I wouldn't go cuss on that because I was like, I can cuss on my own damn show, but I don't know if, in front of all these people if I should be up there like
it's-
saying stuff.
It's so weird to be in that situation.
It's weird,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm usually the one sitting in the crowd clapping, like
Yeah.
asking the questions,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird to have the other. When you said you were going to ask me questions, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Lord.
Yeah.
What's he going to ask?
Well, and I love it that so many people are still embarrassed to be or timid about or intimidated by being from Kentucky
Oh,
and
not
being
me,
called
man.
hillbillies.
I own it.
I've always hillbilly swagger.
Hillbilly
Hey,
swagger.
baby,
that's
I'm a-
right.
you better believe I'm a
Ding,
hillbilly.
ding, ding,
Yeah,
ding.
yeah.
Yeah,
When-
no, I love being called a hillbilly.
Yeah, me too.
I say it all the time out in California. They were like, "You're gay and you're from Kentucky. How
Yeah.
does that work out
Yeah,
for you?" I
yeah.
was like, "Badass," because I'm a badass hillbilly swagger guy.
There you go.
Like,
There you
Kentucky
go.
does, and I have to educate them on Louisville and how accepting Louisville and the Highlands
right.
and all
That's
these
right.
groovy areas
Yeah.
of town are. You
Uh-huh.
know,
Yeah.
I'm like, they're way. We're in the top. We're number 11th in the cities across the United States for LGBTQ
Oh, good,
population.
good.
Yeah, people don't realize
Yeah.
that, but we're a major
Yeah.
hub here.
Yeah, and some great activists here too. Thankfully.
Yes,
Yeah.
and great musicians.
Yeah,
We-
fantastic.
Great artists.
Fantastic.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
we have everything you could ever
Uh-huh.
want.
Yeah.
And when I go to other cities, I've thought about moving away so many times.
Yeah, me too.
And I come back to Louisville every time
Yeah.
because I'm like, I just love it here. I
Yeah.
love the people.
Yeah, acceptance. Yeah, for
Exactly.
being yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if Louisville loves me, man, because I come back and,
Yeah.
everybody's like, you want some concert tickets or you want this or you
Yeah.
want to go to the, just
Yeah, it's
people
so
are
friendly.
cool. It
Yeah.
is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I give a shout out to Louisville because it brings me back.
Yeah. When I I walked into a room at my first visit there to Iceland, and some Viking guys were sitting there. Iceland's the only one of the 5 Scandinavian countries where they still speak Old Norse, the original Viking tongue. And these guys were staring at me, and I said, "You puny Vikings, you've never met a hillbilly before." And so then we all just stared at each other. Then we all broke out laughing, and then had drinks and high-fived and had a
Hell
great
yeah.
time. Became
I don't
friends.
blame you.
But
Isn't it funny how you bond over stuff like that?
Yeah, silly stuff. And you gotta do stuff like that just to break the ice.
Yes,
you know?
you do. Thank God for being social, for
Yeah.
people like us that are social. I just love to meet people. I
Yeah.
love to talk to people.
Yeah.
I have found, and I'm sure you have too, because you're so traveled. In all of my travels, I found some of the coolest people
Me
in
too.
the world.
Yeah, and
and,
friendliest.
and like you said, thank goodness for social media. I can keep up with them
Yeah.
in their worlds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so fun to run back into
Yeah.
them, after
Yeah.
a while and just see what they're doing. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah,
I love people.
Yeah,
you know?
me too. Me too. I studied I won a couple of scholarships and studied at Oxford's International Graduate School for a short time. And I studied with Valentine Cunningham, the head of English literature. And so I knocked on his door, and I was like waiting, anticipating. And, for a brief second, I thought, oh, shit, these folks here speak proper English. And so he opens the door up, and we shake hands, exchange names, and he looks down at my feet. I looked down, back up at him, and I knew what was coming. I said, what? He said, you've got shoes on. I didn't know people from Kentucky wore shoes. I said, ha ha, smart ass. We'll get along great. And we did. And it turns out his favorite singing group was the Everly Brothers from Muhlenberg County.
Oh, I love that. I love Muhlenberg County. I
Yeah.
love every county in Kentucky, of course. Fond of Adair, of course. Just because I'm from there. But
Yeah.
it's so cool because Kentucky, I tell people this all the time, we're so diverse
Yeah.
in our, there's so many musicians that are from Kentucky that
Well,
you wouldn't expect.
I've started, I haven't done it yet, and I don't know if I will, but I've started a book more than once about Kentucky and this special place where diamonds are created because of the intense pressure from all sides.
Yeah,
There's this
a lot of
attempt
people,
to-
there's a famous quote about that too.
Attempt to break you, and your willpower has got to grow and become so strong
Diamonds are made out of pressure.
in order to become yourself, to find the strength to become yourself and to be who you truly are. And I've made these lists of some of the incredible people who have come out of Kentucky
Yes.
from our greatest president, as far as I'm concerned, Republican Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln, I know.
Yeah,
And
then-
I educate people that he was a Republican all the time. They blows their mind.
things were a little different politically then,
Right.
too.
Well, and if you've taken any political science class, they'll tell you that about every 20 to 30 years, you have this rollover of
Flip-flop.
whatever they stand for. They're going to stand for the opposite in 30
Yeah,
years,
yeah,
basically, and you have this
yeah,
rollover.
Yeah. And then the musicians, the singing. I mean,
Oh, man.
and the
Wilson Pickett to Tim Krekel to Everly Brothers to Bill Monroe.
Yeah,
to the
Loretta Lynn.
Judds,
Yeah. There's a
Dwight Yoakam.
long list of them, and
We can add Jim James to that, too. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely. And some of the great writers and one of the greatest actors of all time.
Yeah.
When I produced the official Hunter S. Thompson tribute in December of '96, I brought in Hunter, Johnny Depp, Warren Zevon.
Right.
And
I remember
all
that.
these incredible people and standing room only audience. The New York Times reviewed it. It was reviewed everywhere. A&E filmed it, and it was the most amazing 4-hour event I've ever produced. And footage from that will be included in, since we're here at Launch Louisville.
All right. Yeah.
And my buddy Clayton Luce and Dark Star TV.
By the way, I was going to tell you, Clayton's helping with my new music video, Jesus Freak 502.
Fantastic.
It's a solo record I got coming out.
Fantastic. Well, Clayton's
awesome.
He's done a handful of videos for me, and I'm telling you, they are like top quality. It's fantastic.
Oh, I know. I've seen his work.
So I'm so glad that he has joined forces with Storm Generation Films, Dark Star TV has, and Clayton is editing this over 8-year Outlaw Poet documentary on Ron Whitehead that's finally going to be released in 2020.
That's badass.
And he's wrapping it up. He's just interviewed Mayor Greg Fisher, but it includes famous people from all over the world, but there are film clips. A segment of it is going to be on Hunter S. Thompson and my relationship with him, and particularly that event. And Hunter watched the video of that event for the rest of his life, from '96 to 2005, frequently and Deborah Fuller and others told me that was like the biggest thing. And his son Juan, who has moved to Louisville now, devoted a chapter, I think chapter 18 in his book, Stories I Tell Myself, growing up with Hunter S. Thompson, to that event, because he said I asked him to write a tribute to his dad and present it that night. And I edited that for him, and Juan got me backstage right before he went on and said, Ron, I can't do this. I'm too nervous. And I grabbed his shoulders and looked into his eyes and said, Juan, you got to do it. This will mean more to your dad than anything that happens here tonight. And so he turned around and went out and read his tribute, and it's a beautiful tribute. And Juan says in his book, and he told me that was the bridge, that event, that night was the bridge that when the healing began between him and his dad for the first time. They had been isolated.
That's amazing.
From each other.
And how wild that you were at a gig of mine to kind of tie it back in.
I know it. I know
that was a big healing moment in
many
my
connections
life,
like that.
my personal
That was
life.
great.
Because,
That was
kids
great.
go to therapy over stuff like that happens to them when they're young,
I'm so glad that
Yeah,
happened.
me too.
Glad I was there.
Man, I want to ask you, can I ask you about your beard? Because I love your beard.
Oh, thank you.
If I had facial hair, I would have a beard like that.
One day, you can hope.
Well, let's hope not. I'd be shaving my face before that. No, but no, that's funny. I do like to, draw them on every now and then. In fact, in my Jesus Freak 502, I had a kid do my makeup who does all this wacky, crazy, wild makeup. And she split my face in half and did half man, half woman.
Cool.
Because I was like, that's kind of a cool concept. Anyway.
Well,
but
okay,
your beard,
okay.
who braided it?
My
first
wife,
off?
my wife and I, we both. This is our third marriage.
Oh,
We've been
third
together,
marriage?
Been together for 8 years.
Wait,
and
off third marriage to each other or
No,
third apiece?
to other people, our
Okay.
first together.
Okay, understood.
And
I thought maybe y'all were fighting.
And so well, first 2 years we were together.
Yeah.
I broke up with her once every week, but
Why? That's
but
mean.
she evoked and provoked emotions in me I didn't even know I had.
yeah.
And so
It's weird,
A couple
love,
things.
isn't it?
Well, a couple things happened there. I have never been with a woman. My liver got bad. I love to drink, and I drank enough red wine to fill the Atlantic Ocean. I wasn't a
Right
drunk,
on.
but I drank steadily and
Right.
constantly. I maintained a buzz
Yeah,
24/7.
right.
When I woke up
Understood.
at night, I took a couple of swigs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woke up at night, took a couple of swigs.
And
man,
so
that's
my
hilarious.
liver got in bad shape, and my doctor said, who's a longtime friend of mine, said, "Look, you're going to die in a year if you don't quit." And my marriage had ended, and as Jen said, that's it. I can't keep doing this. And so, but she's the first woman I'd ever been with who I cared enough about to quit drinking for.
Wow.
And so I decided
That's awesome.
I wanted to live, and I wanted my relationship with her to work out. And so I quit drinking, and I didn't go to AA or anything like that. I got great respect for AA and A, whatever you do to heal yourself. I got great respect for drinkers. I still love to hang out with drinkers and smokers, and I
Yeah.
love smoky bar rooms.
I love everybody,
I miss
you know what I mean? I
miss
don't
smoky bar
judge.
rooms.
I
I don't
have
care.
found-
I don't care what anybody does.
Right. You want a smoky bar.
Yeah, love.
Hey,
and be yourself. Be yourself. Just don't hurt anybody.
I was going to
please.
say one place you probably haven't been yet,
What?
and that is to my family's in Adair County.
Oh,
there's a place down there called Tommy's Tavern, and it's a smoky bar.
I've heard
And
about
you
it,
can
though.
definitely
I
go
have
down
heard
there.
about it.
Yeah, I've written about it.
Yeah. Well, now, so I love that sort of thing. After Daddy died, like 8 years ago. Mama wanted me to spend a little time with her. She's 87 now, and we were in the Beaver Dam Cafe, and I went with her for breakfast, and everybody's having the usual, bacon, sausage, pancakes. Everybody was smoking, and I looked around. And it was like cloudy in there. I said, "Mama, does any of this bother you?" I grew up that way.
Yeah.
And we raised tobacco. I used DDT, which has been outlawed, is a poison, chemical, and drug, y'all.
Yeah.
And
Hey, by the way, just to relate, I
What?
also grew up doing a lot of stuff with tobacco.
Oh, okay.
Not smoking it, but I mean, well, we did smoke it off the stalk
Yeah.
back then. But that's how I would make my money in the winters. I'd go strip tobacco
Okay.
on, around a lot of tobacco farms, a
Yeah.
lot of dairy farms, a lot of cattle farms.
Yeah.
I grew up country girl outside,
Yeah.
doing things
That's
that were
great.
fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
loved, I still miss the smell of being in a
oh,
tobacco
I love
farm,
it. I love it.
in a barn,
Now,
and just
Jen, we go to State Fair. We've started this new ritual of going to State Fair every year. I used to go when I was growing up,
Yeah.
and especially for the concerts. But we go visit the livestock and to see the produce and everything. And Jen says there's something when you go in there where the hay and tobacco are. The look on your face changes completely, and she's taking photos of me, and it's
Yeah.
like I'm transported.
right?
But,
Yeah,
you know,
I
back to
I
another place
know.
and another
You
time.
know what? They say smell and music
Oh, man.
are the two things
Yeah.
that will trigger your
Take
memory
you
back.
there in a
It'll take you
heartbeat.
back in
Yeah.
0.5. Smells.
Yeah.
For sure. I
Yeah.
love the state fair.
Yeah,
I
me
always
too.
love
And we're-
being
so
in
many,
the country.
So many great musical acts back, growing up, too. My God.
By the way, my family of Yateses are 6 generations of oil and water well drillers. My great grandfather drilled the first oil well in the state of Kentucky.
Whoa.
And most of my family ran all of the water lines for Louisville and South Central.
I swear.
Yeah. So, I mean, I grew up ditch witch, digging trenches, running
Huh.
in the trenches. You know, my granddaddy had 23 rigs, I think, at one point.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah. And they're still drilling. My dad's retired from the state from the oil well division.
Huh.
Yeah. So, anyway.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Huh, cool.
Jen Yates fun fact.
Huh,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that's a
Cool.
cool one because I really, growing up around all these drillers, it was a whole different thing. And
Huh.
I call them roughnecks. They were roughnecks out
Yeah.
in the oil fields, or
They
out
are
in the fields.
roughnecks. One reason I wear hearing aids is it's not just because of liking to stand near the speakers near the stage at the giant speakers at rock concerts, so I didn't want to just feel the music. I wanted to become the music.
Yeah.
I wanted
I feel
my
you.
atoms to
Literally.
become the music, and so so often I couldn't hear for 3 days after I left a concert.
Yeah.
And my hearing came back to me gradually.
Well, I'm glad it did. I had, Jeff McAllister was up in here. I don't know if you know him, but he's a drummer over at Mel Owens, and he toured with Hank Jr. and
Oh, cool.
Leonard Skinner for a while,
Oh,
but he
cool.
also plays in the Monarchs here in Louisville.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, I forget how many years, but it's longer than I've been alive. He was talking about his hearing, man. He wears earplugs now because when he was a kid, he somehow had constant ringing and it never stopped, and he still has it.
Yeah.
And it was from loud music.
Tinnitus.
Yeah.
Yeah. But mine was so bad that they were running some experiment to help people with bad tinnitus, and they said, yours is so bad we can't run the experiment on you. It won't do any good.
Yeah.
So I got hearing aids, and I was like, I walked outside and heard birds for the first time in years.
Wow.
And I mean, tears were running down my cheek. I couldn't believe
Yeah.
it was such a beautiful sound.
Yeah.
So
I love a
I'm so
bird.
thankful for them. But they had to show me the kids' colors because the adults were so boring. I wanted neon blue, and they had a turquoise they gave me for my hearing aids. So, but I work with some drillers. One of my many jobs over the years, I've been living my dream and being my dream for 30 years. But before that, I did jobs I hated to put food on the table. And
Yep.
one was in construction. And I worked at this rock quarry for a time. And I worked with these drillers who drilled holes. They had these big machines, and they drilled holes to put dynamite down to blow
Blow rocks and
to
stuff
blow
up.
rocks.
Yeah.
So they get down to clear the rocks out and get stones for gravel and all that kind
Mm-hmm.
of stuff. But there are half dozen drillers on the crew, and they were offered hearing protection, but none of them wore it because they thought you were a sissy if you wore it. So I
That's what
wasn't
I'm
about,
saying, them
I wasn't about
roughnecks.
to put one on,
Yeah.
some
You
of that
didn't wanna
protection
chill.
on. with,
Although you'll get a coffin in Nicaragua for the carnival.
yeah,
And they think you're the Messiah coming
Yeah,
out.
exactly. I know. So, but
I
I know
love that.
attributed to some of my loss of hearing
I guarantee
too.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron, I'm going to take a short break.
Okay,
Just
all
I
right.
want to remind everybody that we've got LRS Fest coming up this Saturday night. Actually, it starts at 12:30. It goes all day at the Brown-Forman Amphitheater, and you can get tickets at ticketweb.com, ticketmaster.com. All kinds of awesome bands. We're in the push for that right now. And since you mentioned some Led Zeppelin earlier,
I was just getting ready to ask for something. Thank you.
you're very welcome. I read your mind. It's Led Zeppelin. Ramble on.
That was the song I was going to ask for.
For you, since you
you.
actually saw Led Zeppelin,
Yeah,
dude,
and
in
that was-
'69.
Yeah, that was the song I was going to ask for. I burned that one up.
Man,
so
me
many
too.
Times,
What a great kick pattern by Bonham.
Oh,
That
my God.
bass line is one of my all-time favorite bass lines.
Oh my God! And I would lie down while doing some mescaline, which is a synthetic form of peyote. It was Hunter's favorite.
Mescaline. Yeah, what is in
hallucinogenic.
mescaline?
It's a milder form of acid.
Okay.
And it's got some speed in it.
Yeah.
And of course, coming down at the end can be the hard part. It
Yeah.
just depends.
Yeah, I hear you. It depends on what your surroundings.
Yeah,
and-
yeah, a
Is it
number
one
of
of those
things,
that
a
you've got to
number
have a
of
controlled environment?
Well, it's just like I have a natural dose of paranoia in me,
Yeah.
so I really don't like to be in a car because
I
I know
hear ya.
whoever's
Oh,
behind
yeah.
me is a cop. So it don't matter who
Just
they
don't
are.
drive, right?
Yeah.
You know, nowadays we got Uber for that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I would lie down with the speaker on each side of my head
Mm-hmm.
and crank Led Zeppelin up all the way.
Yeah.
And it was always Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin.
Hell yeah,
were
man.
The two. And
By the way,
Ramble On was just my favorite.
Scott Mertz, to bring him back up, gave me the best nickname I have yet to. I mean, I still use it to this day. It was years ago, probably 10, 12 years ago, when he gave it to me. He nicknamed me Bitch Mitchell after Mitch Mitchell, Jimi Hendrix's drummer, but the female version of him.
Cool.
And I was like, Bitch Mitchell is the coolest nickname ever, man. Thank you for that.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I just.
Jimi Hendrix was the dude,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
and
my
so
God.
was his drummer,
Oh
Mitch
my
Mitchell.
God! And I met was it Jack Cassidy? He played with. I'm almost sure if you could check that. It's Jefferson
Yeah.
Airplane or Starship and on the Jimi Hendrix Experience. But anyway, I met. Who else have I met? Ray Manzarek.
Oh, cool.
Keyboards
The
for
Doors. Yeah. I actually own a Farfisa. So he's very famously known for using the Farfisa in the Doors music.
That's awesome.
That little organ
yeah,
thing.
awesome. Got to hang out with him.
Super
He was
cool.
a super nice guy. And got to work with some and publish Bono, the lead singer for U2, and Lee Ronaldo of Sonic Youth is a friend, and Ian Thurston Moore like my work a lot, and
Yeah.
always wanted copies of my new work.
If somebody doesn't like your work, I start to question them.
And that-
You know what I'm saying?
So that was nice, and
Yeah.
and then one day I got a call. Since he just passed away, let me mention this. One day I got a call, and I was getting calls from everybody at the time, and he said, "Ron, yeah, Robert." Hi, Robert. I had no idea who it was, and he said, "Bob." Hi, Bob. I still didn't know. It's Bob Hunter. And so I still had to think for a minute. And then I realized it was
Bob
Robert
Hunter.
Hunter
Oh, Robert
from,
Hunter. Yeah.
from the Grateful Dead
Yeah.
lyricist. And he said that Diane DePrima told me everything about you, and she says you're the man, and I got a new book, Box of Rain, coming out from Viking, and I'm going on a tour. I want to start in Louisville. Will you set up an event for me? I said, oh, hell yeah. When you want me to set it up?
Yeah.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, that's quick.
Yeah.
That's a quick
So-
turnaround for a festival.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm used to doing stuff
Yeah.
quickly. So
Yeah.
anyway, we set the event up, and it turned out great, and had a really good visit with him. And
Yeah.
so that was,
Ron,
that
tell
was a nice
people real
experience.
quick where are you next? What do you got coming up gig wise?
Well-
you gonna be reading any poetry? I know you got a film coming out.
I just had a film. I just mentioned Outlaw Poet. a documentary on Ron Whitehead, which includes many like famous, infamous folks in it. So, and the word is, what I've been told is that there will be a release at the Baxter Avenue cinemas.
Cool.
So I'm looking forward to that when that happens.
Send me a reminder for that event because I'd
2020
love
is
to come.
all I know
Yeah.
so far, and Clayton Lewis says it's going to be spring.
Very
So,
cool. Yeah.
He's starting. He's talking about bringing out one trailer per month, different materials. He said there's enough material for 2 documentaries, so
Cool.
we'll bring out a trailer a month just to build some buzz, and then bring it out in the spring. So I hope that happens. And I'm coming off one of the busiest years of my life. I'm 68 years old now, almost 69,
Yeah.
and I'm growing older and younger at the same time, faster than ever. So I still have this just a kid spirit, and
I think that's the key to life, man. I tell you, I really do.
So-
'Cause I'm a kid too, still on the inside.
and if you're doing what you love, and
I am.
and backing up to being at that Beaver Dam restaurant with all the smoke and everything, and
Yeah.
I turned to Mama and said, Mama, does any of this bother you? And she looked up and looked around. And she said, Ronnie, a good attitude is the most important thing. Enjoy your food. And that was it. And it's like, good attitude, you know.
Yeah.
Just have a good time, whatever
Absolutely.
you're doing. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Just move on.
Yep.
And so
That's how it rolls,
I remember
man.
that advice and that conversation. And my buddy David Amram is going at it at age 88. He just performed with Willie Nelson and Neil Young at Farm Aid. He's done that every year. And he's touring the world nonstop. And we got a new album that was it'll be coming out sometime in the next year. It's just recorded by Vince Emmett, who has a studio in Nashville. He just recorded Emmylou Harris's newest album, and he's also got one in a 300-year-old cabin out on Taylorsville Road, out towards Taylorsville Lake. He's recorded James Taylor and the Dixie Chicks and a lot of other people, and so
Cool.
David Amram plays on every track I perform. I'm reading like poems and stories from my growing up years on a Kentucky farm. It's from my new book, Kentucky Bound. And David plays a different musical instrument from different countries all over the world.
Yeah.
He introduced the United States to world music, really. And as he introduced the French horn to jazz when he played with Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, Thelonious Monk, all those cats.
Yeah.
And so I got that going on. I've just been working my ass off all year on new projects. I've had one of the things that came out of not drinking when I stopped 6 years ago, I didn't mention, was in 1 year my liver healed. My relationship with Jen, who braids and then sews and stitches my beard.
I love it. And you have
change it.
jewelry on
She
it.
she puts jewelry in it.
What
and change,
is, what,
she changes
is it like
it.
rhinestones or what is
changes,
it?
Yeah, she changes the
It's
design
amazing.
every 2 months. And, when you're on stage a lot, you got all the lights
gotta
on
look
you.
cool,
so things,
man. Yeah.
you got the look.
Ooh,
And
I get it now. It
shines
blends.
out. And
How smart.
and so, but I got gypsy blood in me too, on my mom's side,
Right.
and really have gypsy blood in me. And my mom at 87 still dresses up real
Cool.
wild.
I love that. And you have the best jacket on right now
So,
ever.
thank you.
Yeah,
And this,
I'm a jacket fan.
thank you. It's 50s vintage. Jen got this from the Nitty Gritty.
Oh, I love that place. Yeah.
yeah.
Super cool.
Across from Monkey Wrench down in that corner of the
Yeah, we
Highlands.
still call it the Monkey Wrench. I know it's kinda
Yeah,
funny.
I know.
What is it called again now?
V-Grits now.
V-Grits. Okay.
It's a brewery and upscale vegan
We better
restaurant.
not figure out who tagged that Hunter S. Thompson mural. I'll be mad.
No, a lot of people
That's
are really
ridiculous.
pissed off
Oh,
about
I'm pissed
that.
off
I hope
about it.
I hope it'll come clean.
Yeah. Yeah, come clean.
Yeah. So
Come fix it. Actually, they ought to make them repaint it back if they could do a decent job. I'm going to drive by there when we leave here just to see because I'm curious.
yeah, me too.
Does Denny still own that building? Or the
I think
property?
he still owns it because I
Okay.
told Denny, I said, look, well, he told me V-Grits is moving in. I said, look, I don't care who gets this, just do not do anything to the Hunter S. Thompson mural.
Yeah.
And he said, don't worry about it. I'm not
And he
going to.
didn't.
No,
Yeah,
he's not
because every
going
time I pass by there, I see it, which I pass by there quite often.
Denny's always getting into something new. He's opening up
High
a
horse,
new
right?
place.
High horse.
Something. Yeah.
I think it's the
Yeah,
high
it's down
horse
in,
or something.
where,
like that. The old dude drop in.
The old Dewdrop Inn down in Butchertown.
Yeah, is it
Used to be
Butchertown?
country
Yeah,
music.
yeah.
Well, when I brought Furlan Gaddy and his son Lorenzo to Louisville, Hunter, I said, where would y'all like to go? And Hunter said, I mean, not Hunter, Lawrence. Lawrence Furlan Gaddy said, well, I'd really like to hear some genuine country music.
Yeah.
And I said, I know exactly where to take you. So I took him to the Dewdrop Inn.
I love
when
that.
it was like pure
country music,
pure country,
yeah, outlaw country,
and he loved it. And we came out
country western country,
yeah, country and western, yeah. And we came out and we were waiting for a ride. Wasn't there to pick us up, and I heard all this god awful squealing.
Yeah.
And the smell.
Yeah.
And we looked at each other, Lawrence and his son Lorenzo and I. And he said, "What is that?" I said, "Well, we're in Butchertown.
Yeah,
and they're killing pigs
the Swifty plant.
right over there."
Right. Yeah, that's
right
where they
now.
butcher all the pigs.
Yeah.
Actually, I meant to tell you, I was driving down Melwood this morning about 5:00 because I had to do this drum circle thing, and they told me to go to WDRB. Well, I thought I was going to WDRB. I get there with my drum at 5:00 in the morning.
Early
Nobody's
morning
letting
TV.
me in. Yeah, and they were like, they're not filming here. They're filming at Mom's Music, which I didn't know. So I was like, well, I'm already 30 minutes late. I thought I'd done missed the whole thing, but I drove by and I saw them pigs sitting there waiting in their
man.
things to enter that Swifty plant.
Yeah.
I used to drive to Mom's every day because I worked down there teaching. Drove by that Swifty plant every day, and of course I'm at Play a lot, and I love that area. That Odeon's kind of a cool groovy space.
Yeah.
New, all of
And
the
it's
new
really,
area really
it's really, Butchertown is really being
grown, man. It's
being
grown.
built
The
up.
businesses are built.
Yeah,
but anyway,
now that
that's a great area.
soccer stadium's coming in there. It's,
Saw that, yeah.
big time gentrification's going on there. But I love it. And Marvin Maxwell, I still think the world of him.
I was
because,
with him this morning.
man, when he probably doesn't even remember who the hell I am, but
Oh, I bet he does.
back in
his memory is
when
bomb.
I was in the early days of me starting to produce events here in town and going off of U of L's campus and producing in Louisville, and because I was running into so much trouble at U of L because I was producing such controversial figures. Everything was fine until I brought Allen Ginsberg in, and 1,500 people came to that reading at the U of L Student Center, and the vice president of U of L brought his wife up to me at the intermission. So Allen did a long reading, wanted to have an intermission, go sign books, and he went down to sign books. And so I was talking to the vice president, and introduced me to his wife, and he said, "Ron, this is the best thing that's ever happened for students and professors here. We want to keep up. We want to support you in any way we can." I said, "Oh, thank you very much." And I was like cringing at the same time because Alan comes back from his break, and he goes up, and the first thing he starts telling about is going to Mexico City and having surgery on his asshole. And he first poem he reads his asshole, and so he starts talking about his love life.
Ding, ding.
So it's like, oh, great. So everything was downhill.
Right, yeah.
And I brought in 2 weeks later. I brought in a Mary Baraka, formerly Leroy Jones, who's the godfather of rap and hip hop, and I did a lot of work with Malcolm X's right hand man.
Yeah.
Amiri Baraka is a shaman of poetry. He's passed away now, but he was incredible. I was so honored to work with him.
A lot of that hip hop, comes from poetry. Lyrics are
absolutely.
poetry. You know
right
what I mean?
Right out of it. And Amiri Baraka started it, and so I brought him in 2 weeks later, and like 3 white people showed up at U of L for the show.
Yeah.
And so I'm bringing these people in, and so all of a sudden, everything just turns from the administration to me at U of L, and I started catching hell left and right. And so Furlan Gaddy said, "Look, I never taken a penny from the government, from rich folks, none of that. You need to get off campus, go your own way. Keep teaching there if you want to, but start producing stuff off campus." So I did, and man, it was the best advice I ever received.
I love that.
So
what a great story, man. Ron.
Okay,
So,
all right,
Tell
so-
us because we got to wrap
All
it
right.
up.
Okay,
You
let's
tell
wrap it
me-
up. Thank you for having me on here,
Hey,
Jen.
dude.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have you back a lot.
Hillbilly
are you
swagger,
Hillbilly
baby.
Swagger,
Yeah.
that's right. You've been hearing that live right here.
I love
you
it.
are hillbilly swagger.
I am.
You're the definition
I'm so
of it.
proud to be a hillbilly.
Good.
Yes.
Me too. That was the whole point behind that idea was we make hillbillies look cool.
That's right.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
And we were like, that's awesome because I
Yeah.
love a hillbilly.
Yeah, me
you know?
too.
Who doesn't?
I'm proud of being from
That's
Kentucky.
right. And we're not all dumb. You know what I'm saying?
No,
There's
no.
some cool
I
ass
just
people
dare
in Kentucky.
anybody to start challenging me,
Mm-hmm.
bringing that dumbass Kentucky backward shit
Yeah,
to me.
exactly.
Bring
Same.
it on. Bring
Yep,
it on.
bring it on, right.
We'll
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah, because you're educated as hell. You taught for so many years
That's
too.
20
I've
years.
had-
I taught college for 20 years.
I was gonna say I've had friends who've had you as their professor before.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to do in the classroom was make it real. I
Yeah.
said, okay, you're going to have to put some money in the jar on this one.
Do it.
As
Put it in the jar.
First day of
I'll
class,
donate to charity.
I said, if it ain't real, it ain't no fucking deal.
That's right.
And so,
I like
and
that.
that was like the first day of class. And so I told him, I
and
said,
they probably loved you from that moment on.
I said,
you know?
if I'm not going to ask you to spill your guts on the table. If I don't spill mine, we're
Right.
all going to spill our guts.
Yeah.
We are all dirty potatoes floating in the same tub of polluted water. And the more we bang into each other by openly, honestly sharing the stories of our lives, the more we come clean. And so that it was on after that.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Ron,
Okay,
for coming on.
thank
and I
you
tell
for
you what,
inviting me.
are you still in Louisville? Based in Louisville?
I'm home based here.
Okay.
My kids and grandkids moved here. My wife and I own a home across the river near the George Rogers Clark cabin.
Cool.
My writing studio's on Cherokee Road. So
Cool. So you're still in
keep
the
my
Highlands.
address
Yeah.
in the Highlands.
Cool.
And-
Well, I was going to say, anytime I need a guest, I'm going to ask you to come on and be my guest because
All
you
right.
could just tell me stories all day. I'd sit
Okay,
here and
thank
listen
you.
all day.
Thank
They're
you.
the best stories ever.
Thank you for having me on here.
Outlaw, slam poet, Kentucky laureate, right? Beatnik poet laureate, rock and roll poet.
To stand out, to be an outlaw, you have to be honest.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
And I love your hippie ways, but you're also an outlaw badass
A
at the
total
same time.
punk,
You know what I
total
mean?
punk.
Straight up, me too.
Yeah,
I'm
all right.
burnt out of the same cloth. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna wrap it up with some Led Zeppelin.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
why not? Let's do it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ron Whitehead, thank you so much for being in the
Thank
studio
you,
today on
Jen.
the Walrus.
Yeah.
I am Jen Yates. Tune in tomorrow, Generation Nation 2 to 4. And as always, keep it groovy, y'all.